Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to more GT7 content. Welcome to another money making method. This one is actually sent in to me by KCR Joker. He sent it in, I believe, a few weeks back and I've just not had the time. However, I had a bit of free time the other day and thought, do you know what? I'm going to go and try it out. Now, don't get me wrong, this build is nothing completely overpowered. However, it's a very cheap and usable build. The Honda NSX being, well, a four-wheel drive car, it does allow for some insane grip and allows you to pretty easily get this event done on a one-stop strategy. Now, I believe you actually get one of these cars doing the cafe menus. I'm not quite sure. It's been a long time since I've done them. But if you do need to buy one, it's 230,000 from the Brand Central. I was going to say used car dealer then. Yeah, so from the Brand Central, so it's a very pretty, cheap starting price. As you can see, it just comes in at under 600 performance points. Now, what I've actually done is actually take his original tune and kind of play around with it a bit, so it's actually lower than the original tune I was sent. So we're going to be running extra power for essentially a lower performance rating. So the best way to really match what I'm doing here is essentially go over to the showcase, select current car and put NAF YT in with 1F. It's going to bring up his Honda build and it's easy to just, add it to your collection from there, and it will give you all the parts you need. You then don't really need to buy any of the kind of auto parts or kind of aero or anything like that. But you will need to buy the performance parts. So let me show you from sports. We're only going to need the sports soft tyres. Ignore the sports hard, they come on as standard. So yeah, we're just going to run the sports softs. Then from club sports, we're going to run the power restrictor and the ballast. These are needed, sadly. I do try and avoid them, but it cannot be avoided. Then we're going to run the fully customizable computer, semi-racing silencer, and then as you can see here, we're going to run the high RPM turbocharger with a fully customizable LSD, and then we're going to increase the body rigidity. Then over to the racing section, we're going to run the anti-lag system with a racing intercooler, as you can see just there. And then we're going to run the racing air filter, and then it's going to be racing exhaust manifold, racing brake pads, and then it's going to be racing brake kit slotted disc. I believe it can be mixed with a drilled, so you can use either one. Brake balance controller, I would recommend this. Fully customizable suspension, racing clutch and flywheel, and then as you can see at the bottom row, we're actually going to be running the active LSD controller and the fully customizable racing transmission. From the extreme section, you don't actually need anything. I'll just hover over there and just show you that look. You don't need anything. Feel free to pause if you need to go through the parts yourself. Now, in terms of the actual tune, as you can see, we're going to be running the Sport Soft. It's the only compound of tyre you need. And as you can see, we've added a ton of parts and come out with a lower performance point than standard with this car, which is just bizarre. So we're going to run the fully customizable suspension. Body height for me personally, I've tried to get it as low as possible without bottoming out. So it's 80 for both. Anti-roll bar is at 6 and 4. The damping ratio compression is 35 and 34. Expansion is 45 and 44. Natural frequency is 1.90 and 2.30. Negative camber angle 2.9 on both the front and the rear. Toe angle is 0 at the front, and then at the rear it's 0.20 and it's going to be pointing inwards. So just ensure your bar goes to the right, not the left. Then we've got the active LSD controller, and we're going to leave that pretty much standard. It's going to be set at 10 and 50. You cannot change the top value. Then we've got the fully customizable racing transmission. That's just going to be added. I didn't change the gears, and I've just got it set at 350. In terms of ballast, it's 80 on this one. However, with a four-wheel drive, it does pull it along quite easily, even with the ballast. The positioning is actually at 23. Now, it seems to be ballast that really affects this build. So if I go to the right one touch, it goes to 598.22. And then to the left, it's 619.83. So yeah, it's pretty weird. It makes, zero sense. And even here as well, if you do the ballast, look, you can see it just moving up and down by a ridiculous margin in comparison to essentially what you're already running. It is just really bizarre how this works. As you can see, we're not power restricting this build on the power restrictor. However, we are on the output adjustment, so that's going to be set at 87. But as you can see, if we move it side to side again, it just jumps all over the place. So 87 seems to be the sweet spot. I did try and get more power out of it, but it just cannot be done. And we are running the fully customizable ECU, obviously. Downforce, I've set it to the max because this car does suit to having quite a lot of grip. So I've done max downforce at 180 at the front with the parts that we were given from the livery, and then max at the rear, which is 230. Then as you can see, we've got our parts here. So we've got the high RPM turbocharger, anti-lag system. We've set that to strong. I fully recommend having it on there. It looks absolutely awesome. Then we've got obviously all our racing parts. Silencer is semi-racing though. But then, you know, with like brake pads and stuff, it's all kind of racing, slotted disc, racing brake pads. And we do have the brake controller installed. It's up to you what you have that on. We do have the racing clutch and flywheel, and then perma mods. It's just the increase in body rigidity. Feel free to pause at any moment. So as always, I'll take you through my opening lap and just kind of give you a brief overview of the strategy I did. He didn't actually leave a strategy, so this was kind of down to me to figure out. And I feel like I've found a pretty sweet spot with this car. So when you get started, I recommend running full power for the first lap. This should allow you to essentially get up in the lead and then kind of only have to really worry about essentially what is the starting P1 car, so the other NSX. Now, in terms of being, you know, a car on the opening lap, like a lot of the glitch builds and stuff, it's definitely nowhere near as kind of squirrely and wanting to just, you know, throw itself in. Don't worry, you can also wall ride, and I do recommend just doing it. It's going to be patched anyway. People have been, I've been covering Tokyo since the penalties were taken off, have been wall riding all the time, so, you know, Polyphony are fully aware of it. It's probably going to get patched. It is what it is. Look, at the end of the day, just take advantage of it while it's still in the game, because yeah, they are probably aware of it. They're not, you know, stupid in that sense. So yeah, as you can see, we've got up to P2 on the pretty much after the first corner. Now the only car you're really going to have to worry about during this event, well, for me personally, was actually the other NSX of Gallo. Now that car does have what seems like a bit more downforce than yourself. However, you should be able to just essentially, you know, drive faster than him. It's up to you on what difficulty you want to put it on. I believe mine's on normal for this kind of run through. And like I said, it was pretty much a breeze. You know, come the end, we've got a decent gap. I've enjoyed my time with the car, and at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. So yeah, in terms of strategy, the car's going to hang on absolutely fine for the opening lap. It doesn't move around a lot. It's very kind of planted, and that was kind of my main aim when kind of messing around with downforce and such, is to get the grip out of it and pair that with the four-wheel drive system. Because let's be honest, a lot of cars at Tokyo are very rear end happy, especially for the opening laps, to the point where you're just crawling around and it's an absolute bore. You know, most people will just get them glitch builds and then just give up there and then. Obviously this one, whilst it still does kind of glitch out the PP, I wouldn't say it's overpowered to the point of, you know, some of those other builds. So as you can see, we're going to take P1 here. We're just going to, you know, maintain our little slide out of the corner, and we're going to run down to the start finish line. Now after this is where your strategy is actually going to change. So we're going to power all the way down, maximum output. I fully recommend keeping it as you know, fuel mix 1 for your opening lap. After that point, we're going to be turning the engine down all the way until we do our first and only pit stop of the race. So there we go, opening lap done with a 2-minute 27.440. Now when you get to the end of the straight, I fully recommend just turning the engine down at this point. As you can see, we took a nice hit in the rear by the AI. Yeah, turn it down to fuel mix 4 and just keep it there until you do your first pit stop. Yes, you are going to be, you know, quite a bit down on power, but this does allow you to do it in a single stop, and it allows you to pretty much get the whole tyre life out of the set of tyres that we're using. Now, when it gets to lap 4, this is when it's going to mainly dry up. This is where your sports softs are really going to come into their own. You know, you're not having to worry about too much standing water and such. Like, it's still there, but it's not, you know, as kind of bad in terms of driving over it and such. So at this point, you're going to be setting more dry lap times. As you can see, the bar's just gone under the intermediate tyre kind of section. At this point, we're going to pretty much, you know, follow the leader. As you can see, we did lose that place when we turned the engine down, but now it's pretty much all, you know, all plain sailing at this point. You'll get the move done pretty easily on the AI, so it is going to be pretty dry at that point. Now this is where we're going to make our first pit stop. As you can see, the tyres are almost gone. We've got just enough fuel to get us to the end while we're running fuel mix 4 for all that time since the start of lap 2. We're going to pit in and we're going to put a new set of soft tyres on. Now the little diamond or notch, whatever you want to call it, does say to fill up, you know, quite a bit before, around about 3/4 of the way. I fully recommend putting a full tank in, and that is because we can then have essentially a full sprint to the finish after doing a single lap at fuel mix 4. It just allows you to have that bit extra fuel in and just, you know, go flat out for your last few laps, because at this point the track is almost dry. this is where you're going to get your fastest lap times. This is where you're going to get the most performance out of these tyres. And it just, you know, pairing that with a maximum fuel mode and going full attack will just allow you to pull an insane gap on the rest of the field. So we're going to come out here, as we can see Gallo just in the background there. Now I'm going to actually, you know, to get to the end of the straight, you know, power myself down at fuel mix 1. This is what I recommend doing because it will just launch you to your highest possible speed. Then after that, you're going to see me essentially just turn the engine down a little bit, and it's going to be, you know, pretty much one single lap on fuel mix 4, and then as soon as we go over onto lap 9, we're going to turn the engine up for the rest of the race. We'll have enough fuel, we'll have enough tyre life, and it's pretty much plain sailing from there as basically a full-blown sprint. And it's almost going to knock around about probably, I'd say on average 3 to 6 seconds a lap just turning that engine mode up. So we've come off the straight, we've knocked it into fuel mix 4 like I said. You're going to essentially go around to the start of lap 9 and then that's it. Just turn it up and then sprint yourself all the way to the finish line and it's job done from there. So as you see, I've gone on to lap 9 and I've turned the engine up. Now this is the point where you're going to get maximum power. You're going to be able to absolutely ride those walls so easily. I only recommend running that first wall. I don't recommend running the whole of the walls. It just really doesn't suit my driving style at all. I only feel like I gain an advantage on that first corner. Through the rest of it, it just seems to give me damage and such. But that's going to be it, you know, onto lap 12 out the last corner. And we're going to power down with around about a 45-second gap to P2. As you can see, our lap times are much more improved whilst turning the engine up, and obviously the drier track. So yeah, there you go, first place in the Honda NSX. Turns out it's a very good car to run Tokyo with. Obviously massively helped by that four-wheel drive system and just, you know, kind of moderate power in comparison to some of the 1,000 horsepower builds we've had before. So overall we did a 27 minutes pretty much dead. We did a fastest lap on lap 11 over 2 minutes 6.636. So like I said, it's not the fastest in the world. Yes, it's kind of a glitch build in the sense that it, you know, kind of affects the PP in really weird ways, but it's not something stupidly overpowered. So thank you so much to KCR Joker for sending this one in. Super easy to, you know, customize and get ready to use. And it's going to be around about 825k as usual in that 27 minutes. Which, even if you think about it, if you run Le Mans, you have to do at least 30 minutes. So, you know, 3 minutes less with a less powerful build, and you're still making more than, you know, Le Mans. And it's probably more usable to those players that have never been as confident at Tokyo. I really do recommend that car, this car for this event, because it's just so usable, so easy to jump in. It's not kind of rear happy or, you know, sliding off as soon as it touches the wets. You know, most of these builds we run dry tires in the wet at first, and it just really just hampers your whole run. None of that. It's super planted, so that is why I fully recommend it. So thank you so much for sending this one in, KCR. So don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Turn the notifications on so you don't miss an upload from me. Check out all my links in the description down below, including my sponsor for today's video, the Controller People. And that's going to be it from me. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. Peace.